Today we watched Adam Sandler's Funny People to see if it still holds up.
Let's jump into the sandpit.
Here's the plot of Funny People in 30 seconds. Take it away, Joel Harris.
Funny People is about Adam Sandler, who plays a mega rich and famous retired comedian who is diagnosed with a nasty disease that gives him an 8% chance of living. So in an effort to relive his glory days, he starts doing stand-up and chases his ex-girlfriend just to feel something again. He hires local struggling comedian Seth Rogen to hang out with him and write jokes together. The film explores lies, mistakes, regret, and tests the limits of relationships to their breaking point. It also has the most star-studded lineup we've seen so far, including Bo Burnham, Eminem, Jonah Hill, Ray Romano, Sarah Silverman, Norm Macdonald, Seth Rogen, and that's not even all of them!
And now on to Sandpit Bingo. As you know, we play a game of bingo around here. You can find your bingo cards in the description below. Our bingo cards are currently up on screen right now. Joel, I had a rough week.
Did you? You had a rough week last week.
No, I feel like, what are you, 3-zip at the moment or something?
Probably, yeah. I got bingo twice. So.
Okay, so as you'll have seen already, I have not gotten bingo once this week. My bingo squares today were reference to boobs, basketball, and outdated word.
Okay, my bingo cards were polo shirt, Yabbadabbadoo, reference to boobs, fat shaming, and the toilet humor.
Let's go through our bingo points real quick.
Okay, so the first one I got was polo shirt. Classic, like, immediately out the gate, he's wearing a polo shirt, as usual.
No shorts this movie, though.
No shorts? Yeah, he was wearing pants.
Exclusively pants.
This is crazy. Oh my god. And very early on, I had the Yabbadabbadoo as well.
What, within the intro, I think it was in the intro sequence. And then later on in the movie, but...
He just talks to a kid, is like,
I wish I could do it, you know? I think by the end of this saga that we go on together, we will have our shabadoos on point.
Yeah. I also had a reference to boobs in the first sequence right after. All my first three take place in the first 3 minutes of the movie, because he's getting a selfie with a dude and he's like,
get a little titty in there.
Male boob instead of female boob. There was
still
actual real boob later on in the movie. There was nudity in an Adam Sandler film.
Crazy.
We'll talk about how that made me feel later on. Do you have any other bingo squares?
Fat shaming. When he was talking to Seth Rogen, and he was like, "Oh yeah, your friend Jonah Hill is just a fatter version of you." I'm like, "Well, there you go."
Funny, you and a XXL version of you.
And then I had toilet humor.
My God, was there toilet humor in this movie?
Well, I feel like a lot of it was just crude though. Like it was just sex humor. The toilet humor took me a while to find when it was actually about pee-pees and poo-poos.
Gotcha. So I had a very brief moment of basketball this movie, but the devil managed to weave it in. We even saw Seth Rogen playing basketball. Very exciting.
Yeah, had to get it in there.
I also had, and something we can't, I didn't even think about this when we wrote this down as a bingo square, but we just can't flash outdated words on screen. But yeah, there was a homophobic slur put in, which was...
multiple,
Yeah, so that's not going to be super cut on screen now.
There was also the children dressed as Native Americans, and they were making noises. That can be counted as an outdated word for being performed by that caliber of child.
Yeah, we can't cancel children, unfortunately. That was bingo. Let's get into general thoughts of the movie. This movie had the most dick jokes I've ever heard, ever. And I've played in a football team before. Like above 50.
I masturbate so much with hand cream, I forget people use it for shit other than masturbating.
Put your dick in a Butterfinger and it for me, please.
The other night, I heard my balls and my dick talking.
You don't need a big dick to be a good dry humper.
It was like funny for maybe the first quarter of the film.
It just becomes white noise.
Yeah, like I forgot there's the comedy rule. Comedy comes in threes. What happened to that? It just kept on coming. They're definitely in a Lowlights section for me, but it had to be pointed out. Apatow just threw Judd Apatow, the director of the film, just so many dick jokes in this one. And whether it was on stage or whether it was off, just Adam Sandler asking Seth Rogen to show him his dick.
Yeah.
Like, that was just such a consistent running joke.
That was a very uncomfortable point as well. Just the little moments like that we have been tracking in Adam Sandler films. Like, there is a lot of heart and a lot of soul and love in them, but then they just have these like tiny little moments of depravity that's just like, I can't get around that. That makes me want to jump out of my skin.
But you're right in saying that this movie did have a lot of heart, and that's something I did note down.
Yeah.
That this was an Adam Sandler movie that was very dissimilar to Murder Mystery, the last movie we reviewed. As this one, had a lot of heart out the gate, and it wasn't a movie for movie's sake.
Yeah.
This movie had an intention, which was really refreshing for an Adam Sandler film.
It had a voice, and
Yeah.
it is quite long. It clocks in at almost 2.5 hours. But I really enjoyed that because we got into the meat of the exploration of this sad comedian's life and his journey to try and get over that and learn lessons. And I really love how far it went.
Yeah, they really took it a distance. And dissimilar, again, to Murder Mystery, I had a gripe that Murder Mystery introduced so many characters and it felt a bit overwhelming. There were so many characters in this movie, but I understood them all. I understood their purpose. I think the writing for struggling artists in LA, from an outsider's perspective, someone that's just listened to podcasts and kind of got an insight into that, and maybe even from the Simon Taylor episode we did almost a year ago now.
Like that entourage-y vibe,
They really nailed that. And I did relate to Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen at the start there of just trying to catch a big break, and the way they wrote the dynamics of how people interacted with one another, I thought were really accurate.
Yeah, and I loved, because we spent that much time in the film that we were able to sit with a larger ensemble for a while. But it is really a story about Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen's friendship.
Yeah.
And I guess one of my minor gripes with this is that it does explore like lies and deceit, and a major plot point of the film is Adam Sandler asking Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill to come work for him.
Yeah.
But then Seth Rogen says, "Oh, Jonah Hill's busy. Don't.
Yeah.
We're not going to have him on board." Where he didn't tell Jonah Hill about that.
Yeah.
Jonah Hill was left in the dust when he would have absolutely loved to have taken up that job. And I just don't think we explored the consequences of such a dog act like that.
No,
and
totally
dog
agree.
acts throughout the film, some are really brushed over. And I think with that much length in a film, you could cut out some of the dick jokes and put in more heart and soul and like recovery of relationships and how to like be an adult about certain issues.
Seth Rogen's character was at the start really unlikable with the life choices he made, whether it was dogging Jonah Hill, whether it was just how he acted towards others. It was uncomfortable and an unlikable guy. But Seth Rogen, so you still kind of like him because of the... But on Joel's point, which I think is a really brilliant point, there was so much left undiscovered. And I think it's because the movie was split into two really staunch different acts. The first act was about Seth Rogen in the LA world and his friends, and it was a lot more about his world. And then the second act kind of was a different movie where it was about Adam Sandler and this relationship he was chasing. I didn't think Seth Rogen had a part in that to play. I think the lack of discovering Seth Rogen's world as a comic and with his friends and the things that he did to dog his friends, and that world was just left for the entire rest of the movie for a good hour and a bit.
I would argue differently, because
Okay.
I think if you look at the movie through the lens of this is about Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen's relationship as a famous comic and a not so famous comic and how they navigate that life, that's the thread that keeps the whole movie together. Like I do agree that Jonah Hill and the other like stand-up comedy section of the movie characters were left to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they did it in favor of exploring the entire journey of Adam Sandler's character. And
Yes.
Seth Rogen is like a normal person's perspective into that and how he meddles with it towards the end. He dogs Adam Sandler and like tries to make things right in a moral sense. And that's all. That's kind of the place he has in there. Otherwise, it's just Adam Sandler chasing his girlfriend and getting beat up by Eric Bana.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, and I get where you're going with that. I think something that I thought of as I was watching was there's a conscious choice that you've gone down this rabbit hole in that Adam Sandler will pursue ex-partner. Was that the choice to make for this movie? Was that the best choice? There was multiple things they could have explored, and they went down a route that was so dissimilar to the first act of the movie. Or they could have done it in a better way. Instead of overriding an hour and a half of film taking place at one house, the whole thing was just at this house. And it was uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable.
It takes you on a little like, because you so expect that Adam Sandler's going to go and get his dream girl by the end.
Yeah.
Every film plays out that way. So to spend so much time building that up and then subverting that I thought was really cool. Because I'm like, I don't think I want Adam Sandler to get the girl because I don't want this to be a generic movie. I want this to actually be explored and like flipped on its head a bit, because that's not how life works out. She's got a husband and kids.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. I don't want a generic ending, but then we get a generic ending anyway, as if Adam Sandler comes up and does, "Oh yeah, I'm Adam Sandler. I wrote you some jokes. We're best friends again, Seth Rogen." It's like, no, you didn't do anything to deserve that. You punched this guy in the face.
Yeah.
You told him everything he was worth was naught. And then you just sit down and you wrote him a couple jokes. I understand that that's a part of the movie that's important to their relationship. I get that. Especially because Seth Rogen asked for joke advice earlier on. And so it's a power dynamic change. I understand it.
Yeah.
I thought it was too easily earned. And I thought the wife plot was just so overexplored. But I loved this movie in the first act. Really loved it. And I was so resentful of watching this when I drew it out of the hat in the last episode. Funny people too. No! It was definitely blew my expectations away.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's almost like a different director took the second half of the movie and ran in a different way.
That's a fair point. I think on the ending though, because of the amount of time we spent with these characters and in the movie, I do believe that ending sets up, I believe that these characters go on to talk about their issues rather than running away and stonewalling each other like a lot of people do in real life. They actually come back together and start slowly hashing out their issues. And that's why I could forgive the whole like Jonah Hill dog act debacle, because I kind of believe that they will talk about it over time, because this movie is... It felt so much like a living thing. It felt so much like I went inside of it and spent time with it. And that's why I'm very forgiving of it going lots of places.
The characters did feel real. The fact that Adam Sandler's character regressed completely from all the great changes he made after the near-death experience goes to show that it is a very real experience, and that was relatable, just disappointing as an audience member. Because as an audience member, you want him to change his life, and then the rest of the movies is uphill completion, and then he gets his dreams. It wasn't that. I just think
you don't see that a lot though, huh?
I know, I would have been okay with it. I just think the way they explored it wasn't to my taste. But I think this is erring into the territory of highlights and lowlights.
Yes.
Do you want to start with some highlights, Joe?
I thought right off the bat, like I was a fan of this movie, if you can't tell, but the doctor's office scene, there's a scene at the start of the film where Adam Sandler gets diagnosed. And like, it's 5 minutes in and I'm already like getting emotional. He gets this heartbreaking news of only having an 8% chance to live. This man has everything in the world, yet he's completely destroyed.
And we'll start with as well, the intro of the movie is a supercut of Adam Sandler as a young comic.
That's nice too. Yeah, it starts on camcorder footage.
And it was awesome because it was real, first and foremost. It was just him doing prank calls. But then to see the come up of very real Adam Sandler, which we all have seen this real story play out. Of course, he's playing a character in this movie. But then to have him in that doctor's office receive that news, that's why they could do it in 5 minutes. Because you'd already grown to love this guy. Just this goofy guy doing prank calls, which is, again, we harken at every single episode, relatable. Super relatable, and you fall in love with him early. And then to see him, one of my highlights was walking through a shopping center after getting delivered the news that he's got the terminal illness and still stopping and getting photos with fans. Was just heartbreaking to watch, man.
He just has no emotion left. He's just like walking through it. He's not present at all.
And it was brilliant. Like, that's a highlight, even though it was so sad.
But movies are here to make us feel things. Did you have a highlight?
I did. One of the writing points I just thought was so brilliant. You see Seth Rogen sticking his head out of a limousine, just so enamored with this new world that Adam Sandler's introduced
like
him
a little
to.
dog outside the window.
And Adam Sandler, the writing was just, it's exciting. I used to be excited.
Good to be excited. I used to be excited.
Oh, it's awesome.
That writing, so concise to show that he's jaded without slamming you on the nose with it. But it was just so real and so brilliant. And the stark night and day of seeing a young comic that all he wants is this world that Adam Sandler has. And Adam Sandler, this old comic that hates the world he's built on this high mountain, living with men of that ilk in that world.
There's this brilliant, there are loads of shots in his house as well where it's so big and he's so small. There's that shot of him like remote controlling his curtains down and the darkness goes over his face. I'm like, this is just painting such a beautiful image of this character.
I've touched on it before as well, but the dynamics they created with the characters with how everyone's so excited getting off stage at the improv, and they I crushed that set, dude. And I'm thinking that's exactly how I interact with other DJs as well that are fresh to it.
I love the green room interactions,
Yeah.
I loved the reverse fat shaming in this film. Everyone was like, Seth Rogen, you've lost so much weight. Who's going to want to watch a skinny white comedian?
Shouldn't have lost all that weight, man. There's nothing funny about a physically fit man.
Which is so sad because Jonah Hill, that was his story for so long in Hollywood. I'm sure he wrote that in himself. Because Jonah Hill was just so mad about being the fat guy all the time. And when he lost the weight, there was genuine nerves about being a skinny guy in Hollywood when all you were was the fat kid in Superbad.
God, the industry's cooked, isn't it? That's
It's
a highlight and a
absolutely-
low light fused into each other.
A big laughing point I had was Adam Sandler so bluntly giving jokes to Seth Rogen. It was like, all your jokes are about jacking off and farting. How are you supposed to get girls?
All you talk about is jacking off and farting. You think a girl's gonna come up to you after the show? Oh, could you just jack off of me and then fart in my face?
I think this film is so self-aware.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, to a point, like, there's so many dick jokes, but just comments like that warm my heart. I'm like, he knows what he's doing.
Also, the brilliance of the stand-ups they had, like Aziz Ansari and the likes, writing bad stand-up to intentionally do bad young comic material, I thought was really fun, because that would have been a challenge in itself, to do stuff that's still kind of funny, but not quite great funny yet.
Yeah.
And like the way Aziz was just jumping around all that energy about a joke that wasn't that funny.
Tweaking, I'm tweaking, I'm tweaking, I'm tweaking, I'm tweaking.
And he comes backstage, he's like, I got him, that's how you do it.
Right? It's
But yeah.
brilliant. Also, we talked about it at the start, the star-studded lineup. Eminem was in this movie, and the bit was hilarious. He's
ragging
arcing
on-
up at Ray Romano.
The guy that everybody loves. But yeah, it was packed. Even like we talk about the bad stand-up set, they also ragged on like a bad sitcom, Yo Teach, and Bo Burnham's in the cast of Yo Teach.
That was so random.
I loved it.
That was so random, Bo Burnham's cameo, and this is young internet famous Bo Burnham.
Yeah, YouTube Bo Burnham.
Maybe a special under his belt by 2009. Maybe.
I can't remember. To wrap up highlights, I guess, in the end, I just loved how touching it was. Like, the kids singing, like, it's stuff with the kids, like the peanut butter game.
Yeah.
It was just, this is so nice.
Yeah.
I am glad I'm here watching this film. It was my first time, and I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Into the lowlights.
Yes, and there are some lowlights.
There are some. This film was as brilliant as it was flawed, and I've already voiced how the second act almost killed me. But I'll start early on. I never want to see an Adam Sandler sex scene again.
I was reading some reviews before this, and people like, I can't unsee Adam Sandler as a merman having sex with a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, what a scene.
It hurt. And it was, the sex scenes didn't bother me as much as this one scene where Adam Sandler's poolside with a girl and he's kissing her like a Hollywood playboy. And and it was real because it was, this girl's just clout chasing and he knows that.
It felt unnatural to watch.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it probably play out in real life. And I hated watching it. I don't want to see any more Adam Sandler sex scenes. I haven't seen that many in my time. I know in Universe of the Zohan we see his cheeks, but it's kind of funny.
I have not seen that either. I can't wait.
This just hurt.
Did poke a lot of fun at Swedish accents, Australian accents, Australian culture, Swedish culture.
Yeah. That doctor's office scene.
That was
went.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was kind of resolved because the doctor came back in and was like, I actually found that funny. I'm going to make fun of you now. But in the moment, it was like, you're just ragging on this doctor who's trying to help you and he's getting upset. And it's not fun for anyone involved.
And I'm slowly getting a little bit annoyed by this.
And he's so composed, the doctor. It'd have been funny if the doctor lost his shit in true Adam Sandler movie style. Because they'd be like, they've got under his skin. But it was just this doctor being brilliantly composed. Very real. Again,
Your medicine is placebo. You take that.
The movie's just very real across the board. So, of course, it was a fair reaction.
Yeah.
That scene was a bit orky-porky for me, too.
There was a mad depiction of Australian culture in Eric Banner's character. I did like Eric Banner a lot. He was a bit black and white at some points, but a lot of it was like when he was like, oh, let me show you what we're all about in Australia. It was just like footy, 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 footy. I'm like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a small or a big, you can play these games because a small go in, barrel underneath, and get the ball up, and the ball hits the ground like that. Watch, little down they go, there they are.
It also was a bad depiction of Australian culture as well, with just Eric Bana going, this bloke, and this. It was just like, that's not actually how we talk. We don't talk like that.
Yeah.
And we're not that outward. And I'm sure Americans see us as that. I don't know. I thought for a movie that was very real, his character seemed a little fake.
Yeah, to me, it seemed like satire, but to Americans, I could see them going, this is Australia.
Can we dive into the second act? I've already spoken about it. I just want to highlight the whole thing was a low light for me.
Yeah.
They took it in a weird direction and it was uncomfortable. And I understand movies need to be uncomfortable. You need to feel that occasionally. But the uncomfortable nature of Adam Sandler being in his ex-wife's house with her new children with another man stretched for an hour. So it wasn't an uncomfortable moment. It was an uncomfortable whole act, which was, I thought, the wrong decision to go down for such a long period of time. Seth Rogen didn't feel like he was needed there. I understand he was a fly on the wall giving another perspective, but it was, in real life, that wouldn't be the case. He would have just gone home. He did not need to stay there. And he did not need to take the shit that Adam Sandler was giving him in that moment either.
Yeah, I love how we were able to, when you look at Adam Sandler's character, George Simmons, it's like he's lived a life getting everything he wants, and he got sick, and then he got better. It's just another thing he wants. So now he's going to go and get his old flame back, and that's going to be what he wants. I just love that we were just there and got to explore, like, no, that's he actually can't have this, and he must learn a lesson, and that was the only way he could go and do that. Because I guess he tried to do that he got up doing stand-up and was like, I'm going to go and kill at this. Wasn't killing it at first, so he hired Seth Rogen, started killing it again because you can just hire people to write jokes. What can't you hire people to do? Get your old flame back.
Facts.
He had to go through that tunnel to realize that and really feel that. And Seth Rogen was there to really be like, this is screwed up, man. We can't, I'm gonna have to leave if you're gonna put yourself in this hole. And this is how I would defend that act. I feel like it was a unique direction to go for sure, but I enjoy unique directions.
I reckon if they halved it, if not quartered it, time-wise,
it is a long film.
Explore that act, but quarter it, and then get back to what was the reality we were faced with at the start of the film, the first hour and a bit.
Yeah.
And I would have been a happier boy. I'm happy to get to final results if you are.
It is a long film, but I loved just living in it. And for the entire experience, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I give it the highest rating I've given any of these films so far.
A 7.
A 7 Adam Sandler Yabbadabbadoo's out of 10.
Okay. I originally would have given it a 9, first act. I thought this was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I think this was my first time watching it fully. As a kid, I watched bits and pieces, didn't love it. Probably turned it off for the first sex scene, so that makes sense. Second act, I would have given it a 5. So
what about the full picture, Mac? It's you may not like the second act, but that's what the film is. That's what you can't,
I'm going to give it a 7.
7 as well.
I'm going to give it a
we're
cut 7.
We're agreeing. You won't see this a lot.
That's the Sharehouse. Comment below what your rating of this film is. Even if you haven't seen it, please bump up our numbers.
And hey, click that bingo link in the description. Put in all the bingo points because we're going to look at the next film we're going to watch now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So
I think it's your turn to pick it out.
It's my turn out of the Mikey D hat that you're not selling, apparently.
One
but
day.
you have some in storage, right?
Yeah, they'll sell one day.
I've dropped some.
Here we go.
What? Another one fell out. All right, here we go. The Cobbler.
Oh!
2014.
Oh, it's a newer one.
I remember this one being, they thought it came out and people were like, oh, it's fine.
This is part of his
good.
Netflix run.
Yeah, I think this was one of the first. I might be wrong.
Okay.
But The Cobbler, everybody. Check us out doing it in a fortnight.
See you then. Hey, make sure to tell someone you love them today.
Bye.
Bye.